Good morning, everyone. Well, we welcome you here today. Exciting morning, and we're very thankful for the great turnout today. We've got a lot of great speakers that are going to educate you and answer your questions about a new zone that we have that we're excited in the city of Kankakee that is, to me, can be a real game changer. And you're going to hear from Senator Joyce here shortly, but we do want to give him a big shout out because without his assistance and his help, we wouldn't have this tool that we have for moving forward in the city of Kankakee. We're excited because we have a lot of overlapping tools for development, and we're starting to see our developers call about it. We're starting to hear, they're asking about it, and they're wanting to know how they can utilize these tools to develop and improve Kankakee. And I can tell you from my real estate experience, and my partner Joe here, he'll tell you the same thing. All developers are looking for tools and incentives when they're doing a project. It's very rare that you're going to find a development that doesn't have some type of incentive tagged along to it, especially in this day with higher interest rates, higher construction costs, and everything across the board. It's just much more difficult to get new construction, renovation, and development to happen. So we're excited today that you're going to hear about the River's Edge Development Zone. We're one of 2 additional cities that recently got added to that. But to be able to overlap that with the enterprise zone that we have in the city of Kankakee, the enterprise zone, 5 different TIF districts, the historic district downtown, allowing you to use tax credits for your development, the Kankakee Development Corporation district downtown that helps with facade programs and rent rebates, the East Side Business Corridor, which is an SSA district on the east side that helps with also development. And we have a lot of other small tools within our ECDA department that can help. So we feel like with this new tool, and this is a big game changer, overlapping with all those other incentives and districts that we have, the city of Kankakee is ripe and ready to have a lot of new construction, new development along the riverfront, the downtown area, the southern exit, the east exit, and even on our west side. So excited that you're here today. Looking forward to a lot of the questions that you might have of how we can help you be part of the city of Kankakee, not only this year, next year, but for the next 25 years. At this time, I'm going to welcome up Devyn, and she's going to take over the program and have our next, I'll call it the man of the hour who helped us get this for the city of Kankakee. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for coming today. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Devyn Forquer. I am the project manager at the ECDA. And really, I'm here just to introduce a steadfast advocate for the city of Kankakee and our community and the people of Illinois. Illinois State Senator Patrick Joyce has been a major proponent in getting Senate Bill 1963 across the finish line, which gives us, the city of Kankakee, the opportunity to be granted a River Edge redevelopment zone. Thanks to his leadership and enthusiasm, the city of Kankakee will be the latest to join 5 other cities on the list of authorized municipalities in Illinois. Everyone, please welcome Illinois State Senator Patrick Joyce.
Good morning, everyone. So the River's Edge tax credit, historic tax credit program started in 2012. In 2012, Aurora, East St. Louis, Elgin, Peoria, and Rockford all had the opportunity to take advantage of this tax credit. And on June 7th of 2023, Governor Pritzker signed into legislation that Kankakee and Joliet would be added to that tax credit. Now, it took us about 2 years to get this across the finish line, which is lightning speed in Springfield. And we're glad we were able to do that. And now that the city of Kankakee has certified the zone through DCEO, we have a lot of questions. And that's what this is here for today, is to answer a lot of those questions. And most importantly, though, I want to thank a lot of people in this room, the mayor, a lot of different aldermen, people that are activists around Kankakee on pushing my office to get involved in this. This is transformative. We have the Kankakee River that is highly underutilized. It's a jewel, and if you go across the state of Illinois or across cities in our great country, those that are along a river and you see what they've done along those rivers is really what an attraction is for tourism and for community benefit. So I'm really proud that the city has pushed on this. I'm glad that we were able to get it across the finish line in Springfield. We're going to learn a lot today, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this does for the city of Kankakee. Thank you.
Thank you again, Senator. We are very happy that you're able to be here today. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, Sabrina Canela. She is the Deputy Director of Business Development at the DCEO. She plays a pivotal role in driving strategic development and initiatives across Illinois. With years of experience in economic development and policy formulation, stakeholder engagement, Sabrina brings a dynamic perspective to her leadership position. Her dedication to advancing sustainable economic development practices has been instrumental in cultivating partnerships between public and private sectors. If you would all join me in giving Sabrina a warm welcome, she's going to go over the initiatives.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to first start off by thanking Senator Joyce, Mayor Curtis, the City of Kankakee, and everyone who's here to support the RERZ initiative. Now that we've heard a little bit about the history of the program, as well as some of the primary qualifications, I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk through the incentives. I hope that you take away from this that the RERZ is a truly unique program offered by DCEO in collaboration with local partners. This is a program that reaches environmental, business development, conservation and preservation, as well as credits for financial institutions and the development of businesses. It is truly an all-encompassing program that really hopes to reach the community in a variety of different ways. Some of the additional programs that I'm not going to touch on, but I want to mention and kind of get out there so you have it in your the back of your mind, is the Historical Tax Credit Program. Ben lightly mentioned this one. This is one that we partner with our historical partners with, something that's really important. I know that I was just driving through and was really delighted by the work that's been done here in Kankakee to preserve the historical nature. This is one that I truly believe can benefit as well as the local tax and permitting opportunities, an additional one to kind of keep in the back of the mind as your program starts to pick up. And then finally, I want to mention the additional DCEO programs that we have that will help supplement this program. Those include the EDGE program, which provides credits to businesses who choose to come, who are making a capital investment, as well as a commitment to create jobs. Something that we've really recently done to expand is offering this to very small businesses in a startup phase, as well as continuing to offer it to large businesses, typically manufacturers and major employers. Additionally, we have the REV program. REV is Reimagining Electric Vehicles and Sustainable Energy. This is another program that relies on capital investment and the creation of jobs in order to receive a multitude of benefits, including tax income credits, energy credits, et cetera. So kind of additional programs that I want you to keep in mind, but I want to keep the focus here on the RERZ. So the first couple credits that I want to talk through are really coming back to businesses who are choosing to make a large investment within the RERZ area. First one here is the investment tax credit. This is an opportunity for a company to receive up to 0.5% credit against state income tax based off of an investment that's made within the area. As Ben mentioned, a lot of investments are based off of qualified property investments. So this is going to include investments towards buildings, major construction. We're really looking for a sustained investment here. So things that are durable in nature aren't really falling within this particular line item. This is the things that we are going to see, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. We've got a couple of examples here. However, I also included the legal citations because I know that at some point you're probably going to have someone run down the details on each one of these. Next one that I've included is our dividend income deduction. Again, seeking to assist companies who are making these large investments. This is, again, a very unique one to the RERZ program, which is allowing income tax credits to be placed against any dividend income that is paid out within that particular year. Again, some limitations on this one, and it's not going to be 100% credit, but I wanted to make sure that we highlight this one because it's something that's unique to this program. Starting with the building materials. So building materials tax exemption is something that helps us start to move towards our development projects. We wanted to make sure that we were incentivizing construction that is not only affordable, but really enhancing our areas by allowing for the highest quality. We start here by incentivizing the materials that go into that construction. Working through your RERZ administrator and the state, we're able to help you to receive a building exemption, building material sales exemption that is issued eventually through the Department of Revenue. This will allow your contractors to seek those materials without having to pay additional sales tax on those. We've seen this really help a lot of contractors throughout the state, not only within this program, but within other programs that I mentioned before, such as that REV program or the EASY program as well. So, for our developers out there, if you're working in one of these zones, this is another great item to kind of consider as you're taking on new projects. Next one that I want to highlight for our development partners out there is the construction jobs credit. This is something that was passed recently. We call it our Blue Collar Jobs Act. This reaches across a multitude of the different incentive programs offered by DCEO today. There are a lot of conditions that fall into this. Here is where the state is really partnering with a lot of our legislative partners to think through the opportunities for refining the way that we deliver on these credits. If there is interest in seeking out this great incentive program, this would be an opportunity to collaborate with Ben and myself on how to secure those benefits. We truly are partners here, and we want to make sure that we can deliver on the most that we can offer. So a little bit about this credit. This will offer 50 to 75% credit against wages paid for construction jobs. Again, we want to incentivize construction within the area, and we want to incentivize high quality. We want you to pay these people in a fair and equitable way, which we believe is happening. We want to make sure that we're supporting that as well. And then again, when we talk about construction jobs, we're talking about these long-term projects. Instead of kind of that small renovation or a maintenance type project, we're talking about a long-term sustainable construction project. Okay. Next one that I have on here is the environmental remediation tax credit. This is something that we offer in partnership with the Environmental Protection Agency, the Illinois EPA. This is to help us create more environmentally safe and sustained conditions along the river. Again, this is something that's unique to the River's Edge redevelopment zone that might not have been seen within the enterprise zone. So another great unique benefit that you can secure here. This helps us with the reimbursement of environmental condition testing, remediation, some of these things that we know are going to need to happen in order to have a sustained area along the river's edge that you might not have received credit for previously. Okay. And then the last one that I'm going to cover here before we jump into questions, where I think is where all the excitement happens, is our interest income deduction. So as I mentioned before, RERZ is designed to support the entire ecosystem of redevelopment. For us, that includes financial institutions who are eligible then for interest income deductions on loans that were offered in order to serve for a project within this zone. Again, a really unique opportunity that is offered through this program that we don't see in others. All right, I know I went through those quickly. I want to make sure that I offer the highlights and start the questions. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause, and then I think we've got a panel coming up for questions.
Welcome to Kankakee. We hope that you have enjoyed your time down here. Thank you for recognizing the investment that's already taken place here. And this tool is going to be super helpful for us to continue and build on the momentum that's already happening. So it is the time for the Mike and Barbi show. So I already saw our city planner from Teska and Associates, Mike Hoffman, taking notes and reminding us of the work that we still have ahead of us. So we just wanted to take a moment and just say, just kind of explain to you the work that we've already done that we've heard from Ben and Sabrina. So what is the work that we've already done, and then what do we still have left to do? I won't take very long. Mike will talk about the map, and then we'll move into Q&A. I know that there are some questions out there. So the work that we've already done. So right away, when we knew that we were going to be included in RERZ, we reached out to Ben and just started asking questions, because we knew that it's not just being added to the legislation. There's going to be a process of creating this zone, and we needed to know what that was. And so Ben, who just walked you through all of the application process, walked us through that. I've also met with the Aurora RERZ administrator, as well as Rockford's, to learn how they established theirs, the work that they have already done, the challenges that they experienced, just so we could learn from those challenges here, and then some of the projects that they have working or in the works right now, because as Ben mentioned, this is a hot new zone, mainly because the market is probably making it that way. So learning from them so that we could understand how we're going to create our River's Edge redevelopment zone. And then the city internal team has been working hard. Mike has been taking the lead on creating the map. And we've been meeting with our enterprise zone administrator here, Ben Wilson from the county, just as we're creating the map and understanding how the areas that we've picked fit in to the overlapping enterprise zones. And so we've been doing that work so we could make sure that we knew what to do next. And we have held a public hearing already, so we have done that work there. We have also presented to the planning board and got some consensus and notes from the planning board. We have also presented the River's Edge redevelopment zone to the Economic Development Committee for the City Council of Kankakee to get their feedback and consensus. And then just last week, we presented the first of what will be several meetings with our taxing bodies, because we will need their formal approval at some point to be able to establish this zone. So we did our first presentation last week, and we have some more moving parts. So that's the work that we've already done, and we still have some more work to do. But let's talk about the map just for a little bit. So go ahead, Mike.
Sure, happy to do that. We do have copies of the map here. We'll have them over here after the meeting, so you can come over and take a look at them. Hopefully you guys were able to pick up a brochure that has the map on it. But what we did essentially was we worked with the rules that were explained to you by Ben earlier today, right? We wanted to make sure that we were following areas that were along the river. We wanted to make sure that we included some areas that were environmentally challenged, shall we say, and we've mapped out those. We've got plenty of those in this area. We really kind of focused on commercial corridors in the city. The way we've kind of reviewed the program and understood it, the enterprise zone is wonderful and fantastic for industrial properties. We think there's some significant advantages to including commercial properties in the River's Edge zone. So when we were looking at developing the boundaries for this, we wanted to include pretty much all of downtown. That's where you've got your older infrastructure, buildings that need to be redeveloped. That historic tax credit's going to be a huge incentive for some of those projects down there. So our downtown area is included. We wanted to include major commercial corridors, so we went along Maple, we went along Schuyler, we went along Court, we went along all of the major Kennedy, all of the major commercial corridors in the community, and those will require some adjustments and removal of parcels that are in the enterprise zone. That's why Barbi mentioned we've already met with Ben and talked to them a little bit. We will have to work with that board to confirm that they're comfortable taking out the properties that we're proposing to take out in these areas. We're confident that that will work well, but we do need to finalize that step yet. But as Barbi mentioned, we did hold a public hearing at the planning board meeting in February, took public comments. Yes, we have a transcript. We had a court reporter do that, so we've got that all documented and available. I would say that if going through the process with the enterprise zone group and the taxing bodies, if we do need to make any radical changes, we might decide to have another public hearing. I don't think we'll need to do that. I think we're pretty good. But if we do, we can do that. Really the area is way less than the 12 square miles that we could do. It's probably in the range of 6.5 square miles. Still pretty big, but much less than we could potentially do. And I'm appreciative of the fact that it is flexible and can be adjusted in the future. There's some areas that we talked about with the mayor and thinking about future economic development potential that we might want to annex in the future. And if we want to annex those, then we might want to include those in the future in the River's Edge zone. So we've got some flexibility with that. So that is a really good thing. But we're really excited about the potential for this. We think it offers some great opportunities in the community to partner with the private sector to see new development happen. And so if anybody has any specific questions about how we develop the map, let me know. And there is still time to make some tweaks and adjustments if there is something else that needs to be done. We haven't taken the time to write that legal description yet because we want to make sure that it's good. If you look at the map, it's a pretty complicated boundary, so it's going to be a pretty complicated legal description. So before we spend the money to do that, we want to make sure we really got it good. I think we're close, but we're still in the refinement process if there is any need for additional tweaks or adjustments. So let me know if there's something else that you see when you get a chance to look at the map and you say, why didn't you include this? Talk to me. We'll take a look at those things.
Thanks, Mike. The ECDA team is excited about these proposed boundaries as it does open up some parts of the city that we don't have incentives for, so that we're looking forward to that, future potential economic development projects on the west side, some others on the north side as well. So we're really excited about the potential opportunity that we have for growth in those areas that we haven't had tools for. So excited about that. What do we still have left to do? Well, we have a lot of heavy lifting left to do. So we wanted to present to you today, get the word out to many of you that have already been reaching out to ECDA, asking questions. And so today we thought it was a really great opportunity to have the state officials here with us to spear this conversation in the community so that we can move to these next steps. So we do have some internal work to do with the policies, procedures of the application, who's doing what. The formal approval of a zone administrator will come from City Council later on. We still need to, most importantly, work with the enterprise zone. We need to formally request properties be removed from the enterprise zone because we cannot have overlapping zones between enterprise and the River Edge redevelopment zone. So we will need to work with the enterprise zone voting process that way and make sure that we are following those rules. We also will need to seek formal approval from all the taxing districts so that we can take advantage of the local property tax abatement that we are proposing in this River Edge redevelopment zone. I'm adopting the S, Ben, I'm doing it. So we still have that work left to do. We still need to get those approvals formally. We still need to go and produce those ordinances to City Council, get the City Council approval at the end, and then of course we need to submit everything that we have to DCEO for their formal approval and adoption into the River Edge Redevelopment Zone program. So we have some work cut out for us over the next few months. We are hoping that we will be presenting to City Council by the end of the summer. We've already done a lot of foundation and relationship building and bridge building between all of the people that we will need to seek approval from, and we're ready to talk about the map and get it out there so that when we do our formal approvals, we are ready to go. So, as Mike said, we still have opportunities for those concerns or last-minute items that come up about parcels, so we still have time to adjust the map before we seek the formal adoption, and that's what we'll be working on in the next few months. So again, just wanted to let you know the work that we've done, talk about the map, tell you what we have left to do, and that brings us to what I'm sure some of you are excited about, the Q&A. So Sabrina and Ben, if you're comfortable joining us up here, if not, I get it, Ben, you can stay right there, and people will be able to ask questions too, but if you guys want to join us up here. All right, if anybody has any questions, feel free. Incentive questions, application questions. Yeah.
I have two-part. The first is pretty specific. The dividend income tax credit. Is it that that's only available to corporations that are within a particular type of corporations that pay income tax to the state? So it's a limited entity that can really take advantage of that tax credit, right?
So answer to part A, yes. It would have to be a company that has a tax liability. So we are talking about corporations generally within that area, and then it would have to be a corporation that is located within the zone or primarily doing business within the zone.
When you said, just so I make sure I hear you, you said the dividend tax reduction credit, right? Okay. So to add to what Sabrina said, right now it's a tax filing season, right? We all have to go through it every year. If this is the same program that you're asking about, this also includes high-impact businesses, okay? The Caterpillars of the world, AbbVie, Abbott, and some of them. If you are a person that has stock in one of those companies and you're getting paid dividends, okay? You're getting paid interest dividends, then you can check on that on those companies. If you are part of a stockholder in a company that is in a River's Edge redevelopment zone, and that company does pretty much 100% of its business in the RERZ, then you have a possibility of claiming that on your income tax. It's done through the Department of Revenue, and there's a form for it that you can do that, okay? That's where the dividends come in, yeah. Yeah.
I guess the second question is broader. In the experience of the other River's Edge zones, how have they best unpacked the incentives? I mean, it's one thing to mention them and try to line them up with a project or an owner that makes sense, but then to really dig into it, see if it applies, let alone try to attract somebody else to come to the zone. How have they done that? What's the best way to get those incentives out or information out?
A lot of hard work on the city, and everybody's part right here is probably the biggest way they do that. The thing you have to keep in mind with the River RERZ is that obviously there's a limit of how far it can be away from the river, right? We talked a little bit about that, but it has to be contiguous too. It has to be connected. And this is the same thing for an enterprise zone, is that the trick is, and the advantage you have, is that you can take a parcel down the road, you can take another parcel over here a block away, and you can connect them with a 3-foot strip. Okay, that 3-foot strip's not gonna have any kind of improvements, remediation done on it, right? But it's a way of connecting the two parcels. So we prefer that the River's Edge zones be compact, like you spoke, and they don't have very many connectors, but they do have to be contiguous to each other. And these are properties that the community in this city feels, municipality feels that these are something that can be worked with, right? And so that, I mean, that's really, you know, other than the requirements of the statute, that's what we're looking for from the state. Did I answer your question, I hope?
I think when it comes to the attraction part for the city team, and we're learning this from the other cities, is that we will need to become knowledgeable in building that network of the experts within each incentive, so that when somebody wants to take advantage of the dividend income tax credit, we need to know who they need to get that form from, or maybe even educate some of our local CPAs. So there's a lot of learning that's going on within the ECDA team of what this is going to be like when we formally adopt this. That's why the zone administrator job role will become important, is because that knowledge is going to have to be there. Similar to the TIF or enterprise zone, there's always got to be somebody that's got to make the connections and have that network, that build that ecosystem, so that we can steer people in that direction. So getting that knowledge from the other cities was really important to me and the rest of the ECDA team and the mayor, so that we knew what it was going to be like to operate it once we get the last approval.
Yeah, I think just adding on the marketability and the attraction, Barbi, you're totally right here. I think your number one resource is the other RERZ administrators and really understanding what has worked in your community. I think the more that you are really tapping into what your neighbors are offering, how you can support your local businesses, how you can help your entrepreneurs take it from a great idea to something that's on the roots and employing new people, is really how you get this on the roll. I think the other thing to consider here is when we're pitching the RERZ zone, it's a geographical area that's got all of these great things tied to it. But if we're talking about business development, there's so many additional layers that we can add to it as well. So at the very beginning, you know, I mentioned a couple of different things that we didn't present on to keep the focus on RERZ, but we can talk about historical tax credits, which I know are important to this area. Another great opportunity, we can talk about environmental credits that are important to this area. You know, both of these things really tying back to what this community is versus something that's, you know, 50 miles north, south, east, west of here. And then, you know, when we're talking about some of our different entrepreneurs or larger corporations, you know, seeking to understand and partnering with Ben and I to talk about our EDGE incentive program, our REV incentive program, which just continue to add on and give you another reason why Kankakee is a great place to start a business or grow a business.
Can the programs you're talking about, can be coupled with the RERZ standard?
Yeah, so you can be, you know, for example, an EDGE program who's receiving income tax credits that is located within an RERZ area. Some of the credits you'll see overlap. So, you know, our construction job credits are a part of the same program. So you're going to get that, you know, in either program. We can also talk with you about the different types of programs that best fit your company and the project that you're seeking to do. You can be a company that's, you know, seeking different programs as well.
Can you talk more about those construction job credits through the
Yeah, absolutely. So the Blue Collar Jobs Credit is seeking to incentivize construction throughout, you know, a variety of the programs that DCEO offers. There are some minimums. There is a minimum project investment of about $10 million that is tied to that qualified property that's going to be expended. So we're talking again about, you know, laying a foundation, building a building, putting the essentials into that building, those types of investments. What happens there is you submit an application, you let us know that you want to be a part of this program. We'll go through the application with you, really seek to understand, make sure that we've got all of that information. We understand the budget, we can see that investment occurring. We'll then bring it to our business development committee and have a formal vote. After that, you know, that's kind of the introduction into that program. That program is seeking to provide a credit against the wages paid. So we're going to ask you about the total size of your project first, right? That's the $10 million. The credit that we deliver is based off of wages paid for that project. So we're going to be asking you for some of that data. We're going to seek to understand and verify what wages were paid, and then that's how we determine the credit base. As you saw on the slide, the amount that you receive back in your credit is dependent on whether that project is in a underserved area or not. And if it is not in an underserved area, it'll be a 50% credit. If it is in an underserved area, it'll be a 75% credit.
How do you define underserved?
Yeah, so the state defines underserved by a series of conditions. The easiest way to determine if you're in an underserved area is to use our map. So illinois.gov/DCEO, we have an underserved map. You can just type in the address and it'll GRS locate. Yep.
What is the manufacturing side? I understand the room is full of developers and bankers. What kind of incentive is program incentivizing to partner up with minority contractors to promote and develop workforce development? And if all of the workforce will be subject to certified payroll, that's how the tax credit will come, right? With providing payroll as well. So is there any incentive for developers to partner up with minority-owned companies?
Yeah, so as a part of most of our DCEO programs, coming into an agreement with us is an agreement that you will partner with minority-owned companies, women-owned companies, and companies within disadvantaged areas. So we are asking and advocating for anyone who is entering into one of our incentive programs to seek not only the best resources, but a diverse candidate of resources.
That can be, just to add a little bit to that, that can be within your ordinance when you do the RERZs, that you're promoting minorities or hiring of minority employees, okay? And that's a great piece to put into your ordinance, as a matter of fact. Something that you said, you mentioned, I think you were asking about too, is that if you had a project, so we make sure that we all understand, and you're doing a little bit of rehabilitation of an abandoned building down along the riverfront, you're going to put some apartments up above, you're going to put some commercial property down below. You know, I'm thinking off the top of my head, if you've got the possibility of putting the right amount of money in that project, and you're creating some full-time jobs, because you're going to have somebody there full-time to watch over the place, right? You could utilize the EDGE program, you could utilize the federal tax credit program that's provided by the feds. You're going to utilize the historical tax credit program, and you're also going to possibly utilize the Blue Collar Jobs Act. You can all be bundled, I don't want to say bundled together, they can all be done at the same time, okay? So there's a multitude of assistance that's available for projects on a case-by-case basis, right? It would, you know, it depends on what the investment is and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in addition to that, just so you know, while we cannot have overlap of enterprise zone and river edge, we can have overlap with TIF. So we could also offer TIF incentives as another layer if it was needed for a project.
I have a question going back to the gentleman's question there regarding your requirement of black and other minority vendors. Is there any type of percentage that you have to have in the application that we would have to meet in order to provide individual minority vendors? The question is to the young lady.
If I understand you correctly, there's no specific requirement that you'd have to have when it comes to wanting to hire or provide minority companies and minority people, but each program is going to have its own individual application, right? Now, the reason we say that it's important that you put that in there because I think it shows the strength of the goals and objectives of what we're trying to accomplish for assistance with the state of Illinois. We want to promote that, okay? And that's what we'd like to see. You know, you're going to get a better A grade if you put something to that effect in there, right? And you promote minority within the community. But there's no checkbox in any of the applications that I'm aware of that you checked where you have to have or don't have to have, whatever the case may be, when it comes to minorities? I hope I answered your question.
Maybe mechanism where the effort had to be made to meet that requirement.
So within the RERZ program on its own, if we isolate it, we don't have that mandate, as Ben was explaining. If we look specifically into like our Blue Collar Jobs Act, which is a supplement to this program, you will see that type of requirement, sir. And I think this is another great opportunity, as Ben was saying, for the RERZ administrative team to think about the requirements that are important for this community and how to highlight those within the community effort.
It would be unfair if I didn't say this, is that when you're dealing, we're jumping subjects here, when we're dealing with enterprise zones, not RERZs, there is a criteria that deals with minorities, women-owned business, okay? So you don't have to worry about that with the programs we're talking about here today, but for the enterprise zone, that is a criteria that you can utilize if you're adding property, deleting property, or developing a zone.
Go ahead.
The sales tax exemption, is that just the state portion?
That's correct, and it'll be for the qualified building materials.
They can be purchased anywhere within the state and get that exemption?
Correct. It has to be, as long as it's designated for a project that is within the zone. Correct.
Would the city be able to add their local portion to that exemption if they chose to do so?
So local tax abatements are not required as a part of this program, but they are certainly something that the municipalities may choose to engage in.
So has the city explored that at all to provide an incentive to not only do a project in the zone, but then also purchase from City of Kankakee businesses?
We've not had that conversation internally. We've been focused on the property tax abatement portion right now. We still have a lot of work on the internal policy procedures, how we're going to run the program, and we will definitely have that conversation when we get to that part.
Yeah, it seems like that would be an easy add-on to that benefit and would really benefit city businesses.
Any other questions?
Back to the minority component that you can add into that, have the other 5 zones, have they put a percentage in there of like, minimum 20% or 30% minority contractor base, have they done that in their zones or not?
No, not necessarily. There's no amount. It's just to show the promotion that the community is behind the promotion of that. There are no amounts that are required. Yeah. The one thing, Mayor, I don't want to. The one thing that they do say in the statute, so I don't leave this out, is that they ask that you come up with a plan in order to promote that. Okay? There's no distinction. There's no strict rules, regulations on what you have to have in your plan, but they do ask that you have some kind of a plan of promotion.
The property tax abatement, the enterprise over 5 years, will this be determined by the local authority how long? And would that only include the city's portion of the property tax, or would you go on to the other taxes?
We have proposed to the Joint Review Board meeting that we would do similar to what the enterprise zone was, and that we would keep it in that way, because that's what everybody's accustomed to here, and so it wouldn't be changing it to a point where we would have to do a lot of meetings and a lot of education. And so we just had the very first of what will be probably several conversations amongst all of them, but keeping it very similar to the enterprise zone, the exact same was what we were proposing. All right, last chance for a question. Okay. Well, thank you guys very much. We're done early, which was really what we wanted to happen today. Give you guys a more opportunity to connect, talk, ask those questions that maybe you're still lingering in the back of your head that you're just not ready to ask out publicly, but we'll be here. We'll get the map back out and we will stand next to the map if you want to take a look at that and ask Mike and I any questions. But we'll be sticking around here, get some more coffee and water. Thank you so much for making this morning a priority to spend learning about River Edge Redevelopment Zone. And we are very excited about the future of Kankakee. Thank you so much, everyone.